So, we're actually doing an Eddie special for real this time, huh?
Sorry, we what?
Well, you know, his birthday's right around the corner, and...
No, I mean, the theme is just tension.
Right. Have you seen how tense he gets on the mic?
Deep breaths. Deep breaths. You can do this. You can do this.
Oh. Huh.
Well, I guess we're all joining you today because it's time to let things get a bit tense. Welcome to the Music Arcade. Hello everyone, I'm Galen the Sound Guy Firestone.
I'm Wanakel, and despite what the joke might suggest, it's my birthday that's only in 4 days.
And I'm Eddie, and I'm not anxious, you're anxious.
Yes, I'm anxious now, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, I really appreciate it. I am actually kind of anxious, I'll be honest, but, you know, the show must go on.
And I'm a liar. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Hope everyone's doing fine.
Despite the lingering tension.
Yeah, as the intro and that joke just suggested, we are talking about tension in music today and how build-up can create tension, or instrumentation, or sometimes just really annoying composition choices. Let's talk about Fire Emblem.
Okay. That was quick.
I mean, that's one way to get through the tension. But it's funny for this one because I've taken something that's much lighter in substance to start us out, because I feel it does fit the theme, given that it's Let's Prepare for Battle Here, which is the song where you prepare for battle here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wonder where the song is used.
Yeah, one of my notes is, this sounds like it's wants so hard to be FFT's character select music, so I totally understood the assignment on that one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are other battle prep music as well, but this one is a relatively early one. It's for some of the random encounters you can get as well. So I think it's interesting in that way because it's tension, but it's not necessarily the most tense thing either, because it leaves room for things to grow when the plot demands it. But even if it's just another fight, if it's still there's still a bit of nervousity, even if it's something every character there has done before.
Yeah.
And you can hear the contrast between this kind of warlike routine and the fact that this shouldn't be the worst battle ever, by things like how deep the drums go compared to the lightness of the main song that's like either a harp of sort or just a cello plucked instead of rubbed.
Oh, we are going to talk about that pizzicato in a moment. Please continue.
Oh boy.
Yep. And it conveys this idea of your troops trying to get focused and keep their mind clear before the fight breaks. It's a build-up. It's a whole song that's a build-up, essentially, and need to loop without losing this small build-up of energy. So I think it's interesting for that.
It is. But I've got to talk about this, because, like, I've hinted at it. I've expressed some frustration on this, but we're talking about this. I've listened to this song a few times, and I'm like, I want to like this. Yeah. Why don't I like this? This sounds like something I should like, right? Like, this is fine. And it was today that I finally realized what was going on.
Oh, I see.
You see,
because I was going to say, if you use a FFT soundtrack as a comparison point, that's generally a good sign.
It's generally a good sign, right? Like, but here's the thing. If you actually listen to the composition, there is one on every beat, plucked pizzicato of the same note, every beat. Dunk, 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 dunk.
Oh, yeah.
Without changing the entire song. Including after the damn key change. This guy doesn't change the key along with. Just keeps playing that same note. I want to punch whoever played that repeated pizzicato in the face. It's so annoying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, you mentioned it. I can hear it back. Yeah, that's a weird constant, and you'd expect that, like, for drums, but not for that pizzicato.
No. And I'm just like, why is it? Who would make this decision? This is such a baffling composition choice. It's one note. Stop it. Play something else. Anything else, I beg you.
Yeah, because there is indeed the big change, and everyone does.
This is...
Yeah, like you said, there's a key change and just the one guy.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And this was just subconsciously driving me to distraction. So it was making things tense. It was succeeding. Maybe not for the reason the composer thought, or maybe exactly for the reason the composer thought. Maybe the composer was a genius.
You might have noticed I did not try to pull a... Well, it's to reflect the fact that there's a sense of constancy within the change of the ball. No, this is deliberate, but I don't know why it's there.
I just wanna let our audience know that one of the sentences going around when we were thinking of this episode's theme was the tension before the drop. I think Galen's yell of pain for the song has been our job already. We're past that.
Yep. Yeah, no, it reminds me of watching... Oh, God, this is going to be a deep cut. Andy Warhol once made a movie called Vinyl. And Vinyl was... I'm sorry?
Never saw it.
Understandable, and you shouldn't either. I'm about to explain why. It was all in one take, and it took a while to realize something, but it was based on the same book that gave us Clockwork Orange.
Ooh, boy.
In one cut. The only cut in the entire film was when they had to change reels.
Oh.
This is the most annoying, up its own butt, self-aggrandizing art in the universe. This is why I don't like postmodernism, is stuff like this, where they think they're all cute. But in reality, it's annoying. There's only so far you can play against expectations before it gets annoying. This pizzicato is annoying for the same reason that vinyl is annoying. Move the camera. Cut the film. Edit stuff out, for the love of God.
You know what? Your anger is giving me and my entire soul such relief right now, because I have been today playing, this will get cut off, but I have been playing Star Rail Final Cut Up to the main story.
Okay.
And the level of up its own buttness, the level of loving the smell of its own farts for the finale of a 7 patches long arc. There are entire 3-hour sequences of them just looping around and self-congratulating themselves on how everything is epic and the most important thing, while being more wooden than they have ever been. And
that sounds miserable.
Yeah, I think in my mind you're just describing the epilogue to StarCraft 2, which everyone despises and everyone plays Legacy of the Void up to the final mission before the prologue, before the epilogue, because the epilogue is pure trash.
Worse.
It's worse?
Yeah.
How? Anyway, I think
longer for that.
Yeah, I suggest we get back in, otherwise we'll just read about StarCraft for an hour.
I'm going to be honest, I'll look at it when we get to the end, and I'm tempted to keep that in because it is very funny.
If you want to, honestly, I'm not opposed.
I'm just impressed that someone managed to write something worse than the epilogue to StarCraft 2, which is the worst thing Blizzard has ever written. And I am talking about the company that wrote Warlords of Draenor.
That is saying something. That is really saying something.
One moment when we have a bit of time, or if you just feel like it, ask me about Shaoji.
Oh boy. I'm not sure I want to.
That's why I'm leaving you the choice, friend.
Anyway, Eddie, what do you think of this song? Because I think our ranting kind of cut off your response.
I don't think much of it, to be honest. Like, my notes are basically
which kind of checks out. Like, it's a song that's accompanying your battle prep. It reminds me a bit of music for like car games and stuff that's leaving you room for your thinking and accompanies it.
Yeah, my notes are basically, this feels like I'm in a menu setting things up for the battle, please don't interrupt me. And the tension is maybe I will get interrupted?
No lies detected.
Yep, that sounds pretty accurate.
The tension is about the battle that's going to happen after you've done your preparation, because you're preparing for something.
I'd say we're starting off light as far as the level of like, tenseness.
This is a tension without surprise, you know? You know where you're headed. If things go well, things are going to... swords are going to clash. And that's kind of a tension in knowing. But when it comes to not knowing what's coming up, how about we move on to talk about our good friend Agent 47?
Good old Agent 47. For anyone who's been a follower of the podcast, you probably know that when I am tasked with picking tracks for an episode themed after an emotion, some sort of emotion, I go for, okay, how do 3 different video game genres tackle that emotion? Like I did for relief. I had like, how does an RTS show relief? How does an RPG show relief? So I have 3 different genres, and one of the very, very, very obvious ones was stealth games, because stealth is all about being tense. Here's the thing about stealth games and tension in stealth games. Most tension themes in stealth games have nothing to talk about because you need to hear the footsteps of the guards. So Hitman,
silence.
Yeah, pretty much. They're near silent. Except for Hitman, and in this case, Hitman Blood Money. Because in Hitman, you are walking alongside the guards. You're disguised, so who cares? And so I have...
the social stealth kind of allows that.
Yeah.
Also, it helps that Jesper Kid is just so good. Yeah, so
this is... the track is titled Hunter from Blood Money.
Mm-hmm.
And this really is from, what I'd say, the golden age of Jesper Kid's work. He seems to be back on track with the Warhammer 40k stuff, but this was like the real golden age of his work. Really mixing his 2 influences of the classical stuff and the electronic. And you really feel here like you are Hitman 47. There's like, between the strong male-led choir and the synths, the code synths, and the percussion that kind of feels almost primal, it kind of seems to be playing off of how 47 is at the same time a well-dressed and well-mannered guy, but also a very cold and caring killing machine, especially in this era of the franchise. Nowadays, he's not as uncaring.
One thing of note when it comes to those choirs and those drums you've mentioned is that they take a whole minute to come. Before that, there's 2 musical elements that are slightly off pace from each other, to a nerve, but there's not a bit of sharpness. It's all flowing kind of like a mist until there's the choir and the drums that add a bit of incisiveness, like this dark presence piercing through it all, step by step. It works very well and feels kind of like you're here to disrupt business as usual, while looking like business as usual. Infiltration.
First and foremost, the intro to this song sounds like a completely different song, because once the male choir comes in, it completely changes vibe, I'll be honest. So I kind of wonder if this is, in fact, two songs that are kind of stapled together in one album track. But they definitely get the tension right. That is something that I think the song really does well, and I think the choir is really cool. I'm fairly certain that when it comes to the Hitman franchise, I put the most hours in of the three of us. Does that sound right? Admittedly, all of that's in World of Assassination, but like, I feel like I have the gameplay experience between the three of us.
I feel I started earlier, but that you've played a lot more of the latest.
Yeah, I think you've played the most, but Ren and I have played the more games.
Fair enough. So at least from the context of World of Assassination, I can imagine, while this song is really cool and does build tension, if I'm like stalking a target and I hear these dudes singing in my ear, at some point I'm just gonna be like, shut up, I'm trying to concentrate. It's cool. It's a cool song. I kind of want to hear it in context. I think that's...
Yeah, and that's kind of why when it comes to the way music is used in World of Assassination, a lot of the more fuller tracks happen only after you've eliminated your target.
Yeah, that's when we get the exfil stuff. But that's not universal. Obviously, Berlin has a constant techno going on. Other stages have diegetic or non-diegetic music. New York really has a lot of things going on with the music as well. So that's not a universal constant. Music does come in while you're stalking your prey, so to speak. This one's called Hunting. Just by the name of it, I have to assume it's gameplay.
Yeah, the first 4 games, I guess we can say the first 5, they're much less freeform than the World of Assassination trilogy.
Yeah.
They get more freeform as the franchise goes on. Blood Money is the 4th game. So it is a bit closer to the modern identity of the franchise, but it's still more linear.
Deus Ex was already out by that point, but the world's immersive theme only really took traction between Absolution and World of Assassination.
Yeah. I feel like Dishonored has a lot to do with the popularity-ish of that kind of genre.
Yeah, probably. I do want to get back
it
to
helped make it accessible and make it work for essentially the Xbox 360 PS3 audience.
Yeah, because we had Marathon and we had Deus Ex, as you said.
And Deus Ex.
Yeah, and it's like, it's the genre existed before this. You could also make an argument for I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream, but this, like, Dishonored's the one that kind of took it to the public consciousness, and then things like the Deus Ex remake, Mankind Divided. Mankind Divided was the second one. What's the first one? Deus Ex...
Human Revolution.
Human Revolution, thank you. And then, what Hitman ended up becoming, I think, really kind of solidified it. So, hearing this kind of music in an immersive sim would be almost non-immersive, which is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's possible that that might be the reason Jesper hasn't returned to the franchise. There are, as far as I know, it's only rumors. I don't know if it's been confirmed. But according to rumors by fans, the teaser trailer for Hitman 2016, the first game in the World of Assassination trilogy, the music for that trailer supposedly was by Jesper, and it's very electronic and very fast-paced to keep in pace with what's the trailer showing, because the trailer the trailer has Hitman, Agent 47 running through the snow.
Right.
So there's a rumor that that was by Jesper. I don't know if it's been confirmed.
I have no knowledge of that, unfortunately.
It fits his style, is all I can say. It fits his style, so I don't doubt the rumors. But
what a style indeed. Although you saying that just make me think of IOI's next game, and the fact that we know what happens when talented composers take James Bond-like themes and play with them with a lot of talent and kind of a lot of inspiration. We get things like GoldenEye's OST, which is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's sort of an interesting one. It's gonna depend on who's composing it.
Yeah.
I do want to get back to Hunter from Blood Money real
By
quick,
all means.
because I also found what supposedly are the lyrics being sung in the song.
Ooh.
I found it on Music's Match, which I think is user sourced. So I don't know whether this came from an official manual or something, but to my ear, it fits what I'm hearing in the song. So the main motif that's being repeated by the male choir, apparently is in Latin "Sum tempestas fusca qua perducit terra," which means "I am a dark storm who leads to land." And other little tidbits from the lyrics translate as "The day will never come, nothing escaped from me," and "Dear children, the night won't disappear." So even the lyrics are playing to the tension of "This guy is a trained killer, you will not survive tonight. Good luck."
I mean, you say tension, but I hear about a storm that is approaching, and I'm thinking of Devil May Cry 5, which is not a stealth game. And one might argue the opposite of that.
Fair. But I do think it paints also the picture of like
yeah, like the imagery of the storm doesn't have a stealth element, but when you know foul weather is coming, things are getting tense for a moment.
Right, and I think it paints the picture that I think was much stronger in the first 4 Hitman games of Agent 47 as completely cold and calculating, and he felt less like a human and more like a predator animal. And the lyrics kind of the lyrics kind of work for that visual for me as well.
Now, how about we go and see what's happening on an RPG side of things?
Let's meet a friend of the podcast, Motoi Sakuraba.
Yeah. Tales of the Abyss is his best individual Tales soundtrack. Flat out. This is and I know he is.
So that track is very easy to compare to some Valkyrie Profile Silmeria tracks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This was around the same time, I think. This was both PS2 era. Yeah. I feel like these two games came out like within a year of each other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, Crimson Pride is the final dungeon of Tales of the Abyss. Admittedly, that end game sequence went a little too long. This was like the 4th final dungeon by this point. It's like, we should end now. Nope, we're gonna keep going. We should end now. Nope, we're gonna keep going. But this is the actual final dungeon. And I think it does a really good job of building that tension. This is something that once upon a time, Motoi Sakuraba was really good at.
Yeah, because taking my comparison point of the Profile 2 point of reference, the main difference I can see is that there's similar phrases, but like the triumph isn't there yet. Also, it has its moment of calm, it's a bit more restrained. It feels like there's something grander, more celebratory that wants to come out of this track but can't yet.
Yeah.
That's funny because I had a third different interpretation of the song.
Please.
Because for me, it felt like there was a sense of drama or tragedy here, not just tension. Like almost like a battle song for a battle where you're actually trying to stop before someone actually dies.
That's you know what? I think you kind of read the Matrix on that one, because that's a pretty good example of what the story ends up being.
Huh.
Ooh.
I don't want to get too much into the story because, frankly, it's Tales, which means it's overly complicated for no reason, and secondly, it's kind of irrelevant to the song itself.
Yeah.
But musically, this does a lot right, and it's funny, Rana, you mentioned restraint. I talk about how the use of tubular bells in the song itself is surprisingly restrained, and then in parentheses, remember when Sakuraba knew restraint?
Yep.
I'm wondering...
that's that kind of nuance without the track feeling like it's slowed down or it's completely without energy.
Mm-hmm.
Is the kind of exact middle point that takes a lot of effort to reach and to maintain.
I'm kind of wondering here if what Rana felt like, the sense of sort of joy, I think is how I would describe it, but restraint, not quite getting there.
Not joy, triumph.
Triumph.
I was referring to a triumph that wasn't allowed to break out yet.
Yeah,
there's still work to be done.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's why I got a more melancholic reading of this, because here's your Destiny reference for today. I hope you have your bingo cards ready. If we go back to our episode about Destiny motifs, there was a song called Guardian Down, which used the Guardian motif, which is very triumphant, but it doesn't ever allow itself to finish the motif, so it becomes very melancholic. So I wonder if that's why I got a more melancholic reading of this.
Kinda, especially since it's not really an interruption. Instead, it builds up a little bit and then winds back down. It's very unified in this way. It's a very constant throughout, which probably makes it a pretty fun listening experience for what seems to be a long section.
It was... I do remember this dungeon was fun, and I do remember also being surprised I was allowed to leave it, because it didn't really look that way. As a whole, I don't think the Tales franchise has aged very well, and I know that's kind of a hot take, but Tales of Arise was the last time they released a Tales game at all, I think, and that was pretty good. And then they released a DLC that was not good. They
mainly worked on that DLC and then remakes, apparently.
Yeah. I think the Tales franchise is kind of... I don't want to say at its end, but definitely in its current iteration is...
It's at a down point. It needs
to find what its next step is.
Yeah. Now, a lot of it is kind of looking back on nostalgia, and Tales of the Abyss, again, I keep mentioning this, but in all seriousness, we like making fun of Motoi Sakuraba now because he used to do stuff like this, which is textured, it's interesting, it's emotional. And since then, he's really kind of fallen off, and Valkyrie...
Not consistently, but there definitely has been some times where he's been asleep at the wheel, and we will talk about that kind of tracks and low points again in the no playing section.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I think this song fits the prompt pretty well. It is very tense, but it also fills me with a unrelated tension because, damn, this is what Sakuraba is capable of when he's actually like trying, and I get tense thinking of how far he's fallen.
So you have the meta tension of hearing the first couple of notes of a new track and figuring out if it's going to if you're going to get the fun Sakuraba or the wacky weirdo Sakuraba that tries too hard and in a way doesn't try enough.
I would take the wacky and weird, overly kill a song progressive stuff any day of the week over him just being lazy and phoning in a soundtrack. Weird is trying something.
Fair, although I would say that the lack of refinement can be a form of laziness.
I would agree there too.
Yeah,
That's a fair point.
All right. Let's talk about another song that doesn't seem to have a drop. How about some FreeSpace?
Yep, because if things drop, things got wrong and you're not in tension anymore. So this was the first game that came to mind because I was thinking of tense moments in games and trying not to just put stealth games, but that didn't mean I couldn't put any stealth at all, because this is at the Space Sims stealth section.
Space Sims
Okay.
stealth section.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain a little bit.
With pleasure. So you have the Shivans, this inscrutable force with the unbeatable flagship codename of a Lucifer.
Cool.
And
Subtle.
they've been causing a lot of trouble, to say the least, and have taken enough galaxies that the enemy force you've fought off for over half the game is now your ally, and you are together working to try and figure a way to handle this crisis once and for all. And this involves getting a captured Shivan ship. Now, the problem with Shivans is that they are essentially space spider monsters. And that means their ships' cockpit and controls aren't really human shaped, so there's a lot of retrofitting and tinkering to even make the ship respond to your commands at all. But it does work, and it does kind of work. You can make it move most of the time, and it isn't recognized by the large cruisers or the cargo ships that the Shivans have to maintain their war effort. But the patrols, if they scan you, will absolutely destroy you, because when you are in a fighter that is very much a pain to fight, your weapons don't work, and you are told from the get-go that your weapons are not going to work if you ever get spotted. And occasionally things like your reactor cut off, and so it's like you are stealthing in the void of space with a UI, I believe, it's been a while since I played, but I believe the UI of the ship even is only displayed in weird alien glyphs, and you kind of have to figure it out and make things work and not get spotted in this tense situation with a lot of handicaps piled up. And the actual mission, when you do play it, is easier than I make it sound, because it's a lot of pretty well-prepared set pieces. They do a lot to convey the tension with very little, and one of those elements is the music, with those sharp low notes. There's this kind of alien hum of the void, the drums that go a little bit up and then power down right away, that helps you get immersed in this very tense covert mission where things could go wrong, sometimes because you made a mistake, and sometimes because things just go wrong spontaneously on this ship you can't even understand, trying to get vital information to defeat a seemingly undefeatable enemy.
I have to say the whole mission you just described sounds incredibly creative and complex for the time this game came out.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. It
Uh,
absolutely is. It's so good. Like, this game had some moments, man.
Yeah, that sounds like the way you described it does sound frustrating, but it also sounds incredibly creative.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were really trying to do things like people are nostalgic for space sims for a reason, and this was a set of pretty narrative ones, and they could kind of go both ways with the more narrative Wing Commander likes and this one, or the more freeform ones, and it's a shame we kind of lost that for a while with some games like No Man's Skies, which you've played a fair bit, picking up a bit of that while mixing up with other stuff, and of course a Star Citizen that is never going to come out, but the genre left a fond memory for a reason, and one of those reasons is that kind of moment.
Yeah. I've been playing No Man's Sky lately. We'll talk about this later. And last year I played the heck out of Everspace 2, which I adored. I would love someone to take on like a narrative space sim again with a good budget.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see that. I feel like I want to live in the alternate universe where Star Citizen actually is a video game that I can play, and not whatever the hell that cash grab grift is.
Yeah. And like there's a few that have come out since as well, and that have been mechanically pretty sound, but they've more focused on the more freeforms aspect of the genre. Your like X, your the big trading, start from a small ship and build your own armada kind of stuff.
Yeah, the old freelancer vibe.
Yeah, exactly. But that wasn't the whole genre, and
No.
yeah.
Do you have any idea how many hours of Rogue Squadron I put in as a kid? Like, yeah,
trust me, I had it as well, and I loved it as well.
Oh yeah,
and in particular, like, you can make a lot of great stuff with an elite as well, or stuff like that, but with something that's a bit more controlled, even though it's in a space as so open, it's literally space, you kind of need a narrative control to have that kind of moment that makes you remind you in a moment of difficulty that you are in a floating tin can in a void that will end you in moments when something goes wrong. And that's cool. That's tense.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I think it really is a really cool ambient setting track. It sounds very militaristic,
which makes sense.
It is a military operation, but I like as well, like, there's a bit of a authentic retro feel to just the sound quality and the instrumentation. It's like, this feels like pure actual nostalgia to me, you know? So that's that aspect too. But how about we move on to something a bit more recent, yet still very much in the sci-fi area thing?
I guess, while I really like it, I think it does a good job with the tension, maybe it does too good of a job, because it's, my notes flat out say it's 80% build-up, and maybe that's too much build-up. I don't know, this one kind of made my skin crawl a little bit. Like, I like this, I like what it's trying to do. I think having a second verse at all, a second movement at all, may have been a mistake, because once it gets there, it's like, oh, that's what we're leading up to, but it was like, we're already 1:10 into the song when the second bit hits, and then the song just ends at like 1:30.
Yeah, honestly, that's a pretty fair point. Like, when it loops back around, it kind of feels like you've dropped the ball when it's not what's happening.
Yeah. So I like and respect this one. It doesn't make me nearly as angry as the Fire Emblem song. That one's going to haunt my nightmares. But I do have questions for the composer. Anyway, that was all I wanted to add.
Okay, I have a headcanon. The Fire Emblem guy that did the same consistent note, he is now in my mind also the guy that showed up for the Amarot theme for exactly 4 notes.
What? Oh, yeah, that. Oh, God.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to something that still very much sci-fi and with a very involved scenario, but maybe more boots on the ground, so robot boots on the ground.
Yeah, still in space, Signalis. So of the 3 video game genres, this is the horror one, the inevitable horror one, because horror and stealth are the big ones for tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I could have chosen a lot of different tracks because they have a lot of tense tracks on the album, but I went with Matryoshka by 1,000 Eyes. And
Pronunciation.
thank you. I try my best. But yeah, this is industrial music in pretty much every sense of the word industrial.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And
like,
there, go on.
I imagine how it stands in the setting, but hearing it on its own, I couldn't help but picture somebody that's lost a hex nut down a stairway and it keeps blinking down, and you're trying to get it. And you just look silly.
Oh, God. You just turned a horror game into a comedy skit.
No better way to dispel tension.
Fair enough. Yeah, I personally haven't played Signalis, even though I absolutely love its soundtrack. And what I know of its story, maybe one day it will be the survival horror to make me actually play a survival horror. But yeah, there's going back to the actual music. There's this idea in music. I don't know the proper terminology, but it's something like sort of validation by repetition, so to speak, where once you repeat a sound enough times, your brain kind of validates that as a rhythm, as musical. That's kind of what goes on with this song for me. Because the sampled metallic beating noises, they are clearly not a clean rhythm. They almost certainly, I didn't stop to check, but they almost certainly are not on the beat. But they repeat enough that it kind of creates the illusion of a rhythm for me. But the repetition of
it's also supported by the heavily processed sounds that are moving around, partly reversed and partly truncated, to make it feel like something's glitchy and weird.
I'm going to be honest. My entire notes for this song are random percussion noises.
That is also fair. But for me, that constant repetition of something with this strong metallic sound kind of creates a feeling of tension for what could happen, that what could show up that would actually break this repetition. What could be louder and more powerful that would make this sound go away? Because I know the context of the game. I know it's very dark.
Yeah, like, it's unpleasant, but you'd be almost worried if it suddenly stopped.
Right? Like, this I know most of the game is like in dark areas in a mining facility. It's a very industrial aesthetic. So suddenly you hear this noise being made. I don't know where it plays. Again, I haven't played the game myself, but there, in my mind, when I hear this, there are two options for how it ends. Either something big is beating on the metal pipes and maybe they're about to see you and beat you up, or this is just the sound of the facility and something's gonna show up that will make this sound seem like absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the only thing worse than a monster you see is a monster you don't.
Cricket, cricket, cricket.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to follow that up, and I imagine Galen doesn't have anything else to add.
Unfortunately, I don't. This song kind of left me a little dry. I'm just like, it's just here's percussion. Cool. What do I say to this? It's banging on pots and pans.
I guess
it's kind of like the complete opposite of the track that comes next to.
It's probably not. Probably shouldn't be a surprise that I picked this song. This is me.
It's pure atmosphere. There's no melody. There's no structure. I totally understand it. Like, it fits the emotion, but
yeah, exactly.
As a piece of music, I'm just like, why would I ever listen to this voluntarily? Which sounds like more of an indictment than it is. I'm sure it sounds fine in the game.
Hey, noise is a genre that the 4 fans of it will tell you very loudly about how valid it is.
Living up to the name? And it's not like I don't like weird stuff. I'm not judging.
Yeah, I get it. Of course. It's also not the kind of things I'd put up in my workout playlist.
To be fair, this does not go on the workout playlist. I do listen to industrial music now and then, but that does not go on the workout playlist.
I see. You may yet be redeemed.
Oh, God.
Can
we move on?
Yeah, let's take it back up high and somewhere between deep mining and space. Surely we can find a middle ground.
And that middle ground is the sky. Theoretically. I say theoretically because I have never played Project Wingman. Never even heard about it before I heard this song.
Ah.
Right after we started in on this episode, we were just at the very beginning of the planning segments, and I already had my first 2 songs there. I had Crimson Pride, and I had the song we're going to talk about in the third section. And there was Spotify offering me a playlist of stuff that video game stuff I've been listening to on Spotify. So Mick Gordon, FF14, Yakuza, just sort of in a pile, as well as some other stuff like Devil May Cry 5, and just kind of all around the, like, action-y, techno-y video game landscape.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yep, this song comes up. Kings, I think, plural, right? Kings by Jose Pavli.
Yep.
And I'm just like, whoa, okay. Yeah. Well, this sounds cool.
Very dramatic.
It feels like it very much wants to capture the kind of Ace Combat high-profile, big-name dogfight in the game. And the most surprising thing is that it's not copying, yet doing a good job at passing that bar and living up to that inspiration.
Yeah, my first notes on this one is that it's less the tension before the drop, like some of our other songs on this episode, and more you are right in the middle of the drop and you are hoping that you will get to land safely.
This is a song that, much like the previous song, much like Crimson Pride, really kind of builds on itself, but unlike that one, which is more static in its progression, this one kind of ebbs and flows in a way that I think is surprisingly naturalistic for a track like this.
It really goes places, and the transition point are surprisingly hard to pinpoint at times.
Yeah,
something I really liked when I was listening to this was at around 5:45 in the song. This is a long one.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, just waiting for
I hear that.
7 minutes.
At around 5:45 in the song, the cellos come in for just a brief moment, but the sound they make almost makes me think of like old plane engines, like propeller engines, passing by, like as if they were just passing by you. And I think that was a really interesting use of the cellos, if intended.
Kind of going almost like you do if you are a kid playing and you are doing a plane noise and you go meow, but with more means behind it, of course.
Yeah, it's deeper, like you'd expect from military propeller engines.
Yeah.
No, clearly Jose Pavli has a really good mastery over use of strings. Very rarely do I voluntarily, I don't want to say voluntarily, but I do tend to prefer Japanese composers or the more Williams-esque style. This is a lot more stable than the stuff I usually listen to.
Yeah, it feels like it's inspired by Japanese compositions because of the Ace Combat influence that you can't avoid talking about when it comes to this game.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't just try to imitate, and I think the result is very positive. Like I know of this game and what it wants, and I was a bit weirded out by the idea of such a game being an early access release that was worked on for a pretty long time, but honestly, having this relative lack of context and hearing this track, it's making a strong impression.
I don't know if I'm going to play it myself, but if you do, please tell me how it is.
Will do. But I would need to get my hot ass back in check for that, because no way I'm playing a fighting game without one. Playing sim without one. But yeah, as far as how it fits within the theme of today, I would say that it's very much attention, but a different form of it, where you are, like Eddie said before, in the middle of the action, kind of. It's less the kind of tension you'd have in a corridor leading to a boss fight, and more the kind of tension you have during a Souls-like boss fight, where you know you are one hit away from being knocked down.
Which, again, is
very active this way.
Yeah, but, it sounds very unique for a flight sim in that regard. We've talked about Ace Combat on this show before. Yeah. It doesn't tend to be as nuanced, which is not to say bad. Certainly, I like my share of unnuanced music. Good lord.
I think there's a lot of tracks that go a lot of places, and they aren't necessarily the ones I favor when it comes to bringing them up to the show, precisely because it can weave too long a tale to isolate a point and make it fall fitting within a show's theme. But there are definitely tracks that are a bit more shape-shifting in a way, and telling a longer story with its ups and downs, the way this track does. And so this doesn't feel unique to me, but it feels like a like it understood and executed on the assignment with gusto.
Yeah, the vibe I got from this was that it's very cinematic, but usually in video games, when you say something's very cinematic, it kind of tends to stick to a specific mood. Wouldn't exactly be the right word, but it tends to conform a little bit because it it the composer can't fully know how the action will play out. This song, or at least this album arrangement, maybe in game it's a bit different, but this song it's cinematic, but it's dynamic as well. Not just cinematic for the sake of looking and sounding cinematic.
Yeah.
I think more cinematic, the word that comes to my mind, even though it has been misused in an era of internet so much it's lost its luster, but epic is the word that comes to mind.
That is also fair.
It's weird that I almost don't agree because I feel it's almost too subdued for that.
I think to me it does paint the picture of being the middle of an epic dogfight, but
Yeah, it's
the
definitely
focus
dogfighting music.
Yeah, the focus of the song isn't in the grandeur of the dogfight. It's in you as a pilot being very tense trying to survive that dogfight.
Not just survive it, but like basically something big is happening in those in that dogfight, and one way or another, things are going to be radically different after that. And the difference between whether it's good or bad for you is solely in how you handle those buttons and joysticks. Tension.
And on the subject of building up and a good use of strings, despite the fact the midis have not aged well,
That they haven't.
why don't we talk about my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack of all time? Take us away, Rana.
All right. Well, this one, the tension part is mainly the first part of the song, but I think a partial pick for a song is very valid in this instance, especially because we have a lot of build-up and of tension, and we also have a drop in this song, the song being The Landing from Final Fantasy VIII. And well, it's when you talk about the landing, you mainly talk about the bam bam ba da ba 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 da ba ba ba, which is very expensive, very and very cool. Honestly, the part that's the first minute is what interests me in this instance, and there's this great build-up that immediately comes to mind. This was the first track I thought of. Like, FreeSpace was the first tense moment I thought of, and when it came to thinking really musically, this really came to mind because of how much it plays what makes the most sense right away. There's how do you express tension? Heartbeats, breathing, and you don't hear literal breathing the way you hear in literal heartbeats, but the way the strings go a bit up and then down, it's like Squall going and bracing himself for the exam that's to come.
Yeah.
Although qualifying it as an exam is a bit selling it short because it is a military operation that involves rushing with a heavily armed crew to a transmission tower.
Absolutely. Now,
that setting is weird.
It is a weird setting, but I do still kind of love it. So here's the thing with this song. A few episodes ago when we were talking about drops, which I think led directly to this episode over time, I brought in FFHC Extreme, and we talked about the difference between the intro space and then its secondary build up into what ended up, what I would call the drop after that. This song plays the same trick. And it seems to be almost the extreme almost seems to be a callback to this moment, because this is where the adventure really first started, and that's clearly where it ends. Because it has that like heartbeat segment that you said, and then it has the actual intro with the notes. Build up, build up, build up. Okay, also, now song go.
Also, visually, I refreshed my memory by looking at the cutscene this plays in. You start with the boats that sail across that sea, and there is a strong focus made on the reflection of the moon in the water, which has implications later on, and so the way it's probably a callback makes perfect sense.
Now, another thing this game does, and I know this because of a fairly encyclopedic knowledge of the soundtrack in particular, it's the first iteration of, maybe not the first iteration, but the first iteration in general gameplay of the main theme. Da, 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 da. That phrase and the phrase following it does absolutely follow throughout the game, and it is Uematsu playing with leitmotif in a way that he hadn't done nearly as often, not since FF5, really.
Yeah, for this soundtrack as a whole, the presence of the sorceress is really what this expresses. And it's peppered in all throughout.
Yeah, and it shows up in several very different songs. Here, it's just sort of in the middle of it as part of a phrase transition.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually
a pretty great way to
place
to put it.
Kind of sneaks in that there's something more going on here entirely musically without disrupting the flow of the song.
Which it shouldn't, because you don't have a direct intervention in the scene, but it's still the troops that are in that camp. It's just not a direct intervention. It worked great for... it knows its place, in a way, is what I'm trying to say. Now then, Eddie, any thoughts in particular?
I was basically just listening to you guys talk about the context because, again, Final Fantasy. But yeah, I really enjoyed the... there's a sense of... little bit of sense of drama with the horns, but also when the synths...
It's a bit extra, that's for sure.
It is.
Yeah, and when the synths and the percussion... Yeah, but I also I like that sense of drama, actually. I'm not sure how it plays in the actual game, but as a song, it works really well. And I also like how the synths and the percussion add a little sense of urgency to the sound. I think it all...
Which makes sense, because I believe it's a time mission.
I specifically noted down that in some other game, this could be the theme to a boss fight, to a serious boss fight, but for Final Fantasy, by Uematsu even more, it feels more like it would fit a theme to a time mission, so that tracks. But this is just Uematsu.
A fun boss fight on the trip back, but I believe music is different by then.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would change.
Although when it comes to the regular encounter, it's one of those sequences where the music stays consistent when in the fight instead of moving to a normal battle theme, which is always nice.
Yeah.
And of course, when it does, it loops without the build-up at the start, because that would be silly otherwise.
I would kill for an FF8 remake at the level of FF7's remake. Just orchestrate the hell out of this song.
Yeah.
And I would love to go through that whole sequence in 3D, in switching between the characters. I don't know, I feel like that'd be really neat.
As far as moments in the series, this is definitely one of the big ones.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, FF8 always got the short end of the stick, because public perception says that it didn't live up to FF7, which may or may not be true, but the soundtrack definitely does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I remain staunchly in that kind of way a strong defender of Final Fantasy XIII soundtrack, even though I wouldn't touch that corridor of incomprehensible plot with that 10-foot pole.
It's still funny to me how much you hate that game. It's like me and Yakuza 3. I'm just like, F every last second of this.
And yet we're not seeing an FF13 remake.
So I hate to break it to you, but there have been some leaks indicating that there might be one, yeah.
Oh dear. Well, good for the fans.
Yeah.
But anyway, since we are drifting a bit away, how about we return and transition, in fact, to the next piece and talk about some Mega Man Zero.
Yep.
This needs to be back. This needs to be next to that FreeSpace song. It's the same problem. It's 80% buildup and then something happens.
Yeah, I kind of don't know what the ending of this song is doing. I think it might actually be an issue with the cover.
I believe when you hear it in game, you only have the shorter loop, right?
I think so. Usually it gets interrupted by a boss fight, because usually this plays before you're fighting one of the bosses. But we're going a bit ahead of ourselves. We're talking about X the Legend from Mega Man 0 and 03, plays in both games. Which I'm using a cover version because I deeply despise the GBA sound chip. And this cover, outside of the outro of the cover, it kind of, out of the ones I've listened to, it captures the vibe of the original the best, save for the ending.
I will say the GBA sound chip, while lower quality, does have a bit of a haunting quality that this cover doesn't really reflect. And yes, haunting was the theme from 2 episodes ago, but given the status of X as a character at that point, I think it makes sense and deserves mention.
Yeah, I think the artist doing the cover version here, one Krzysztof met Słowikowski, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He chose to use organs for a certain sound in the original game. I've seen some other covers where they choose choir for that, and I think that might be a strength of the original, where it's ambiguous between a choir and an organ. Either way, it's something that you would expect to hear at a church trying to sound holy, but in this context and with this composition, it's clearly failing to be holy, much like the X you meet in Mega Man Zero.
Which makes sense, because that one definitely has a god complex.
Yeah, like, the word more than even tension that to me defines this track emotionally is how it's looming. It's X looming over the exchanges and the dialogue with the bosses that you eventually fight and this whole situation. And yeah, it's a looming theme. It's great for a villain that you don't want to confront right away, but want to establish. And this is a bit of a tension of its own. It's not off topic at all, because if you build up such a character, especially a character that was a protagonist previously, there is an uncertainty to that silhouette in the shadow that isn't quite right, and this works great to have you face it and kind of takes you across a bit of the uncertainty, the discomfort of what's happening, and not letting you have the answers just yet, because it's not that stage of the game yet.
I think there's also a couple sort of meta elements that are more related to the plot that make this feel more tense, more like you're facing something that you don't know what it's going to do to you. The first of them is simply that it's not the original X, but it's the version of X that is being hailed as a hero, when you playing as Zero are not are treated like you're a rogue robot. You went rogue. You're not the hero that you think you are, or that the rebellion thinks you are. So you are at a lower position. Looking
when
at
you say rogue, what I like as a synonym of rogue is maverick.
Fair, but yeah, there's that element of like you're being called a maverick literally in the game, and even though you are Zero, and X is being treated as the legend, and you're facing him who's at a much higher stature than you are.
And on a technical level, it's not wrong, but at the same time, you are trying your best.
Yep. And I think the song's return in 03 in particular makes it even more tense, because the version of X that comes back in 03 was rebuilt by the main villain of the last two games in the series, and he's clearly unstable. He's constantly stuttering. He clearly isn't acting right, and you don't know what's going to happen when he eventually breaks the mask. Let's say when the mask falls. It's not if.
It's a when, not a if.
Exactly. And so every time you meet this guy, you have to listen to this song, and you're going, one of these times it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, and I guess when you put it that way, there is tension in talking to a ticking time bomb.
Quite literally, as it
we should
would
have
turn
put
out.
some keep talking and nobody explodes music in there.
Didn't know that game had music, to be honest.
There is a theme when you approach the end of the countdown. It's pretty tense.
Fair enough. I would hope it would be tense. But yeah, this being a short theme, I don't have much more to say.
It is a pretty short loop for the main part of it.
Yeah, I do like this cover, and I think at least one of the two game versions also use the percussion to imitate the heartbeat, which also adds to the tension. So that was something I was specifically looking when I was looking for covers.
Heartbeats are classic.
That they are. But yeah, this is close to how I wish the GBA version sounded like. There are only, to be honest, two games in the entire GBA library, at least that I've listened to, where I can enjoy the soundtrack, and this is not one of them. Not in its original form.
Mm-hmm. I will make guesses after the recording as to what those games might be. But for now, how about we move on from the GBA to the 3DS and talk about some Lorule cast?
So, Link Between Worlds, really cool game.
Yeah.
This is a song that definitely works better in context, because the build-up, you could hear it, but you don't feel it nearly as much as you do as when you play it. As you go deeper and deeper into the dungeon, the iterations of the song you hear on the soundtrack start kicking in, so it's a slight variable mix, ish.
Yeah, like essentially you move up the phrases as you go through the dungeon and through very key steps.
And it's super cool because it really does build on the emotion. I have a lot of love for Link Between Worlds soundtrack, even if a lot of it is just reorchestration of even if a lot of it is just a reorchestration of a Link to the Past music, which, what the heck's wrong with that? That song, that soundtrack is also great.
Oh yeah.
But this one in particular,
it tells for this one that this is one heck of a build-up, and it works great, especially for a castle that is that big. That dungeon is definitely larger than any other temple in the game, and yeah, it's huge and pretty difficult as well. That is an endgame sequence if I ever seen one.
it is, and it's one of the few like fully original tracks on the soundtrack that isn't a character theme.
Fully original track if you disregard the part where one of the phrases from the Hyrule Castle in A Link to the Past is reversed in this track.
I mean, yes.
I believe we've talked about that in this podcast before. And it's such a cool trick.
It is. It is a very cool trick. This is, again, I like just listening to this one because you can still go through the phrases and feel it build and feel that tension. This is definitely one that works better in game. And yet it was still one of the first tracks I thought of when this topic came up, because I'm like, I mean, the proof's in the pudding right there. The whole point of the song is the build-up.
Yeah, it's the track that tells you you've gone around, you've gathered what you need to do. Now it's time to lock in and do what you came here to do.
Absolutely.
And this sense of connection is also helped by the structure of the game, where essentially A Link Between Worlds was an experiment for designing an open world progression in a Zelda game before Breath of the Wild. And you, instead of needing to go to each temple to unlock the items there, you could just go at a central point and run them and go around and do things in whatever order you pleased. But no matter the prioritization over what path you took, it all ends up here.
I'm just glad you guys are giving me a lot of context, because this didn't feel tense to me just listening to it on its own.
Really? Why not?
There's some elements.
Not even the start.
No, didn't really feel. It felt more like a hero on a mission than being tense about it, to be honest.
Out of curiosity, did you play A Link to the Past?
A little bit. I'm not much of a Zelda guy.
Because I think the most clear point of tension is when you have kind of the musical phrase that's generally associated when Aghanim shows up, that marks a transition point where things are getting a bit more dangerous. Da-na, da-na, da-na. And that feels like it's a part that's fitting the theme to a T, even if it's preceded and followed by this very heroic march kind of theme.
I see. Yeah. I think the only Zelda game I don't know if I really finished it, or at least I got close to finishing, was the Minish Cap. So I'm not
good one.
For the most part, I'm not a Zelda guy.
Well, you're gonna have fun with the next track too.
Yeah, let's talk about one of the most underrated soundtracks of the franchise. Let's talk about some Majora's Mask.
I mean, you know what's tense? When the hateful face of the moon blots out the sky and the big town's bells tolled as you only have a few minutes remaining before everything comes crashing down in the most literal sense.
Man, every Tuesday I hate that.
Yeah, I know, right? And yeah, it's all unraveling, and it's very explicit in the way it works. Like, you have a timer, and you know that when the timer hits 0, everything is lost. So it's the kind of tension that's the exact opposite of a stealth game again, where the tangibility of the threat is kind of what makes it so crushing and so terrifying. It's a cosmic horror that's almost within reach, and because it's almost within reach, you can't just pretend it's not there anymore. And that's what this theme feels like it's underlining with the way it's taking the more peaceful themes of Clocktown and unraveling it and adding the background strings, all kind of independent of each other, kind of trying to pay lip service to making a track because they really want to bail, and it feels like none of the instruments want to be here anymore because there's a moon that's about to crash down. What are you doing?
Yeah, this sounds like a different kind of tension. Like, yes, this is quite literally the tension before the drop, but this is less you prepare.
I didn't think of that, but as far as drops go, that one is pretty clear.
That's a big one. But yeah, this feels less like preparing and bracing for the drop, and more like accepting the inevitability of the drop.
Like, yeah, like if you didn't have the ability to wind back time, you would have no way to fight that. And the music feels like it doesn't know you have this ability to rewind time.
Yeah, it's more a theme for the people around you than a theme for you, I'd say. It's a theme for the village.
Yeah. It's not even playing a more tragic card or anything. It's not sentimental because there's something overwhelming about it all.
Yeah, it feels like the village is just going through the motions, even though they know everything's gonna end soon. So
that's a pretty accurate description of events.
I know enough about Majora's Mask to know what happens in the game.
Yeah.
Musically, the song is just wild. I know it's the town's bells, but it's used within the context of the song very strongly. It really kind of pushes that fear to the front. And while it is like
centers everything.
Yeah, while it is a scramble of strings, like what else would you do? A scramble of strings it's either that or the most like melancholic solo violin in history.
Yeah, it's unraveling in real time.
Yeah. And if you're going for a sense of foreboding doom that you could still theoretically stop, this is definitely the play.
Exactly. Like, you kind of need to have an opposite force of that magnitude. And the fact that the way you rewind time is with a very orderly music helps to contrast things as well. You kind of have to hear things going completely bonkers and breaking down live to really feel the weight of you just playing your ocarina and winding back time that way.
I think a lot of these, not a lot, but a few of these songs we've talked about today, they're sort of self-explanatory in a way, where you reach a point where there isn't much else to add to the conversation. Like Final Hours from Majora's Mask, X the Legend from Mega Man Zero, what else? Ambience 5 from FreeSpace. It just reaches a point where you go, yeah, I think we said all we can say. Like that doesn't mean we don't like the song, but as a conversation piece, I think that's the end of it. And I think
I will say, though, to take the theme in a broader sense, that despite how straightforward tension can be expressed, it can still work in many different ways. Like, what we can say about our track is that they definitely don't sound like each other. It's not really monolithic, and taking different paths to come to that same emotion is always very cool.
I wouldn't you call that the core of musical expression or artistic expression in general?
I would. Moving on to Music Arcade now playing.
Let's do it. Okay, who's going first?
I'll start us out.
Go for it.
So, for what I've been playing, well, fun fact, as we had a recording opportunity last week that didn't really work out in the end, I ended up going over the way I was feeling a bit under the weather and did a few more races for Sonic Racing Crossworld. At least I thought this would be a few more races, but then I noticed I finally found where to find the way I was placed in the festival, and I kind of wanted to do well in it because this was Ichiban Kasuga Festival, and I like this guy as a protagonist of Yakuza, and I also happen to like Crossworld and find cool that he's in it, even though as far as the soundtrack goes, they introduce exactly 3 tracks from the game, and 2 of those tracks are technically the same track, but at different points of it, depending on whether you're on the first or last turn. So a bit disappointing in that front, but I ended up playing non-stop for 5 hours in order to barely inch out my spot in the top 1000. Got my fancy title, but that was quite an evening, and I ended up exhausted, but not hating the game, which is a testament to how good it is.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong endorsement if you played for that much straight in a tense situation and came out still enjoying it. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's easy to burn out after stuff like that.
That it is. Beyond that, I played a bit of Pokemon Legends ZA, started it, and I was a bit unsure because I'm taking it for the Switch One, and we know how well it performs in general, but so far it's been running pretty well. I haven't played that much, however, because I'm waiting on new headphones. And due to the way my setup works, essentially, if I want audio, I need to play undocked, and I'm not that used to it. But game is interesting. Not really I kind of prefer the more strategic build for mainline Pokemon, but it's fun. It's fun to go around when the long, very narrow, very strict tutorial finally ends, at least. Also, I got a shiny very early on, so that's cool.
There you are. So a little funny story about this Pokemon song. I brought this up on the Discord, but I feel like this needs to be recorded for posterity. I'm listening to this and I'm like, man, I wish this was Lumiere. This is so French and yet not French enough somehow.
Yeah. So this is not Lumiere, this is Lumiose. Yep. Based on the same city.
I'm
also
sure.
Based on the theme for that city from the original X and Y games.
I thought the sound actually sounded familiar, so I probably heard that one before. But so just on a whim, I'm like, let me refresh the palate with a proper French game written by French people, and that would be Expedition 33, of course. The first word of the final boss track, and a few other tracks, but the final boss track in particular, is un. The first un. Yeah, I know how to pronounce it. I'm just being very stupid because I'm not used to pronouncing it just on its own as a word while also speaking English. I know that seems insane, but
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Etymology is really hard.
Yeah, that's what it's so cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't even write like E33 or anything. Just the French word for one. Just un.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that came up on auto suggest, and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me.
And then when you said that, I was like, I wonder if it's because of your algorithm, and type the same word and get the same result.
And then I tried because I went, okay, so that worked for Galen and for Rana, but Rana is French. Let's see if it works for me as well. And the two first suggestions were songs from the game.
Because I was French, I had way less chance to get it. Because there's a lot more video suggestions that should start with in.
Mm-hmm. 10 million views and a massive amount of cultural impact later. Expedition 33 is still the French game that could, so...
Yeah, in the words
we
of...
are less than a month away from figuring out if it's Game of the Year as well.
It has won a Game of the Year award already. I don't remember where.
Not the Game Awards Game of the Year, which is the only one anyone seems to care about. I can't imagine a world where the Game Awards actually nominate it, right? It's a slap in the face to everything the Game Awards stands for. They'll snub it out of spite.
I'll just take the opportunity to quote an American. I think he's American. He's a circus performer, but he actually performs in Renaissance fairs with whips. He's called Jacques the Whipper, and he plays off as being French. And one of the videos he has on his YouTube channel, he describes Expedition 33 as the Frenchest thing to have ever Frenched. And he shows off a member of the audience who's wearing a French... stereotypical French costume with a baguette, and he points to the guy and say, "That's an actual costume in the game."
Okay, yes, it is. It's a very popular cosplay costume for that exact reason, so.
Yep.
And it's very funny to even see it in French conventions.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Pokemon Zeta A loses this round of So You Think You Can France.
Oh no, it's absolutely getting out-Frenched. It wins out on other fronts later down the soundtrack, but that one is a pretty much a background theme.
Anyway,
somehow I don't go that far.
Somehow it's still out
mid stuff.
Somehow it's still out French's Ubisoft when they did Assassin's Creed Unity, but whatever.
Why doesn't that surprise me? Anyway, how is Zeta A? Because I really liked Arceus, and I'm annoyed with Nintendo right now, I'll be honest, but I do want to play this. Is this worth playing? Because I've also heard some complaints, but I've heard complaints on the same places that, like Asmongold, so I'm not really sure how valid those complaints are.
Oof. Yeah. I don't have the comparison point of having played Arceus, but on a technical level, it's running well on a Switch 1.
Okay, good.
I don't really have any performance complaint, didn't have any crash, didn't have any weird bug like I had in Scarlet and Violet. So on that front, it's already good. Like, it makes sense. Honestly, I didn't hear any, this is the best running game ever, which makes sense. It's not, but the fact we don't have a constant barrage of how bad the game is a testament to the fact that on a technical level it's running pretty well. And then the question is, once you out the tutorial, how much do you enjoy the loop of chained up trainer battles, of the more mash your different attacks kind of gameplay compared to the more tactical aspects of Pokemon games, and how much you gel with the systems and enjoy exploring the rooftops of the town.
Yeah, what I've heard from people I actually know who have played it is that on the Switch 1, the graphics aren't the best, but the game runs well. At least runs well now.
That's the right choice to make.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
No one's playing Nintendo games for the graphics.
Yeah. I think maybe at launch it didn't run too well, and that was a big issue, but
No, yeah,
from the
wouldn't
people I know, it
that
runs
since
well
I
now.
only started like 2 weeks in.
Yeah, that's fair. And on the Switch 2, apparently it's great, but on the Switch 1, it started off rough, but got decent, except for the graphics, which Switch 1, what you're gonna do.
Yeah, the main difference is that I would pay $70 for it on the Switch 2, and I got it in a supermarket for $45 for the Switch 1. So
Neat.
yeah. When it comes to other games I've played, we've briefly talked about Ubisoft, and they have released recently Anno 117. And there are definitely some things that are disputable in this game that I only learned after purchasing it, like the possible use of AI and some assets made with it that haven't been removed properly, which is unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah.
Am I not surprised?
Gameplay loop is fun. I'm doing terrible and then finding my way back, so it's eventful. And when it comes to the music, it's there. It's not the highs of Anno 2070, but it does the job. It is very much Roman music, and really that's all it's supposed to be.
Good. I will admit, I've seen some gameplay footage, and I have been intrigued, which is more than I could say about any Ubisoft game in a very long time.
Yeah, like I know it's the one series that makes me have to go through the Ubisoft launcher.
All right, well, I'm definitely not playing it now, because nope.
They've integrated it more stealthily if you get the Steam version or something, but it's a layer that's there and it's a pain.
Is there a Rome-based city builder that plays well that doesn't do that anywhere out there? That'd be nice. Anyway, I'm sorry to kvetch. Please continue.
My best reference point for that would be Caesar 3, and that one is old enough to have you ask if you have a sound card installed.
Oh, God.
It's on GOG if you want. It's clunky by modern standards, but the GOG version still works.
Okay.
It's a classic for a reason. But anyway, as for the last game I wanna talk about, I started playing Resonance Solstice, which is a gacha, and I absolutely don't care about the gacha element or the battle system at all, because the more important part is trains and trading, and it's super cool at that, and you can customize your train, and you have things like... This is a game that is made with the heart of a nerd here and there, to the point where one of the things you can purchase with some of the free currency you can get is different announcer for where you enter different stations in the setting that have been dubbed not by popular voice actor, but by the actual announcer of certain Japanese railway lines. And it's got some great tracks. I was worried at first, however, because they have Hiroyuki Sawano as a guest composer that made the main theme. He was the one that worked on Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I loved.
Right.
And this main menu theme, I very much don't love at all. This is him absolutely asleep at the wheel doing the most textbook, unable to stir emotions kind of examples of his bottled, distilled powdered style. and signature. And I was very worried when I heard that. Thankfully, my doubts were dispelled when it came to the rest of the soundtrack, where there are some very fun and chill tracks, like the one I've actually linked, which is Lattice, and which is one that plays when you are actually driving the train in a certain coastal region of the world.
Oh, this is coastal? This felt snowy to me. Weird. Anyway, so I actually took notes on this one more detail because I thought there was a chance this could be part of the episode. So I wanted to kind of poke at it a little bit. First two words out of it are vibe music, which it is. This sounds like this could be like a Sia single in that kind of realm, or at least on a playlist with a Sia single.
Oh, absolutely.
I gotta be honest, the singer is kind of mediocre. Is there a language barrier here? It's hard to hear over the vocal processing, but she is the weakest link of this song.
I believe there might be multiple language barriers just if we go by the fact that for another track that's a bit of a boss fight in a desert gold rush themed region, the guy they hired for what is a very American theme in its construction was a Spanish guy on Fiverr.
Wow, okay. All right. That's...
Like, I don't think that's where they found it, but when I entered his name, this was one of the first things I found, and I just found that very funny.
Oh, that's
choices have been made.
Choices have indeed been made. Oh no. Okay, so for all this composer's talents, picking singers does not appear to be one of them.
There are some, like, one of the vocal tracks is a bit further in the region. Actually, it's part of an event where you have to bring materials and find advantageous way to do that at a profit in order to repair a railway that goes beyond the coast and is essentially a huge bridge across an offshore wind power plant, which is very cool. Also very vibey, slightly different. Kind of echoes this song tonally, but it's a bit tighter. I didn't put this one in, however, because I only experienced it a couple of days ago, which is when the event reached a point where you could actually cross that bridge and go to the rocket launch center that it leads to. But yeah, that's a good amount of vibe music, and that works very well with trains.
You know what? Cool. You know what? Cool. I get it.
Okay, to give you an idea, you have the choice between 12 different preset camera angles whenever you're driving.
They know what they're doing. They understood. Yeah. They're like, this is the focus. We're doing this.
And honestly, it feels kind of revivifying to have a game that, yes, is gacha, but who isn't really focusing all of its appeal on that and tries to almost use the gacha to fuel them nerding out about trains. And if
sounds
my
like
intuition is right on that, good for them. Happy for them, even. Now then, who's next?
Oh, my list is rather short, so I suppose I could go next.
Go for it.
Waiting on a biker real quick.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff I've been playing actually hasn't changed from the last episode, so instead I'm just bringing a couple games that have been added to my list. One of them is a return to Vampire Survivors, because they released version, I believe, 1.14, with an update to the Ode to Castlevania content, which has been most of what I've been playing, as well as the Anti-Chamber free DLC in collaboration with Balatro. And I'll be honest, their version of the Balatro main theme better than the original.
No,
At least in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's the addition of more energy and
it's a different game genre, but they definitely process the funky sounds in a way that makes it less grating.
Yeah, and they also accelerate the pace of the song to fit the action of Vampire Survivors. So it sounds really cool.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Very does.
And the other game I've added to my list recently has been Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters World Championship Tournament 2006.
Sorry, can you say that again?
That was Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters World Championship Tournament 2006.
Perfect.
That's what I thought I heard. Good.
Yeah, it's not to be confused with Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters World Championship Tournament 2025. I really am playing an old game.
Yeah, of course.
For no particular reason at all, other than let me try the Archipelago randomizer for this thing, which has been a mixed bag for me because I'm not the best card game player, but also the AI is kind of awful sometimes. So it's been interesting. I mentioned earlier that there are exactly 2 games on the GBA where I actually enjoy what they did, even with the GBA sound chip. This is not one of them, but it's by the same company. It's by Konami. Interestingly enough, I find it amusing to me. The soundtrack to this game is very chill, even when you enter the survival duel mode. And we're talking about a franchise where every episode they're trying to convince you that a children's card game can destroy the universe. I don't know how that franchise led to a game this chill, but somehow it did.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a deeply unserious series, and I kinda love it when it does that.
I mean, honestly, we make fun of the censorship so much, but Shadow Realm has entered the public lexicon for a reason. It's so silly. I think the terrible original dub kind of helps it being so silly. I think that actually plays.
Sadly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters World Championship Tournament 2006 is based on Yu-Gi-Oh! GX rather than the quote-unquote original anime. So it's not as serious or as funny in terms of the dub. But it's a neat game for people who enjoy the old school Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was less absurd. You didn't have to read 4 paragraphs of card effect for each card being played, and turns didn't take 30 minutes. That was a nice time.
Crazy stuff.
Anyway, that's it for me.
All right then, Galen, you play Arknights?
Sure do. We had our newest hard mode, Vector Breakthrough. Every few months they do a mode for the veterans. And in this case, it was one that actually has kind of a cool gimmick. It has, instead of the standard buff and debuff risks that you could do in contingency contract, you actually don't have any debuffs, you only have buffs, but those buffs require beating a level as certain characters and locking those characters into that level. They can't come back out again.
Oh.
So you're expending your units as resources. Yeah. Now, I will be honest, I feel like the difficulty of this one was kind of a mess, but I thought the boss mechanics themselves were really cool, and they feature a faction that I really like, and like usual, the music is awesome.
Yeah. Fun times. But
yeah. Other thing I've been playing, obviously, FF14. We've been doing the newest deep dungeon, the Pilgrim's Traverse, which has its own dungeon theme that comes up as part of the random music. And at certain fixed floors.
Fuel got that time to shine.
I'm sorry, please repeat that?
I'm just glad Fuel got that time to shine again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're all over this thing. This is my favorite deep dungeon now. It beat Heaven on High. And the more I play this, the more I realize that Eureka Orthos was just bad.
Yeah, so I heard.
Yeah.
Glad they seem to have taken good lessons. I've heard good things about this one.
This is fun. It's doing it right. I really enjoy this one. With that said, music is cool. Duh. It is remixing something, and I wish I knew what. Because I recognize that main refrain, and I'm like, what is this from? This is from another game. What game is this from? It's Grand Pulse. It just hit me. It's Grand Pulse. It's FF13.
Oh dear.
That literally just hit me during this conversation.
Yeah. I heard the breakthrough.
Uh-huh. Wait, why are you remixing Grand Pulse? This has nothing to do with... Okay, never mind.
Yeah, this doesn't even make sense the way the Tactics Ogre remixes made sense in the original Deep Dungeon.
No, because this has nothing to do with it. This is just following up on the Sin Eater storyline.
Yeah, exactly. Unless there are parts of the story that are actually huge references to FF13, the way Eden is huge references to FF8.
Absolutely not. This is following up on no. Why is Grand Pulse being remixed? Now I'm just confused. Anyway.
Speaking of that, as a brief aside, as much as I have no interest in Final Fantasy Dissidia Duellum, the online 3v3 PvPvE game they're doing, it's nonetheless very funny to me that it's a game that has, with a modern set, actual FF8 Rinoa interacting with Gaia.
Okay.
Like they knew what they were doing, and I'm glad they didn't miss the chance on that front.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyway. So as far as newer games I've been playing, I say because neither of them are any new. In fact, I think they're both about 10 years old right now. I'm still in No Man's Sky, and I recently did a sub-mode called an Expedition, to which you were kind enough to make 33 jokes more than once. But in this case, the Expedition crossover was not 33, it was Expedition number 2 Redux for Mass Effect, and this was actually a really bad crossover. I didn't like the crossover at all, but the music that plays at the end of Expeditions, holy crap, this song's good.
Oh, wonderful.
This is by the artist 65 Days of Static, who did the rest of the soundtrack. It's got two different titles. It's called Center of the Galaxy. It's called Supernova. It's just this really cool, like, triumphant guitar thing. I really like this song. And they've been playing an older Metroidvania called Time Spinner, an indie one, and it's really, really good. And I need to finish that game at some point.
I haven't heard of it before you looked into it, and from what I've seen from your stream, it looks really well made.
Yeah,
it's been on my wish list for like 3 years or more at this point.
Oh yeah, this was one of the first games I intended to stream when I started streaming. That's how long this can has been kicking down the road.
Impressive.
Yeah, so I'm finally getting to it, and man, did I wish I played it sooner.
Yeah, I mean, the games and the things on the to-do list that get kicked down the most generally aren't the worst at all. Like, pushing something back is no sign of its quality in general.
Absolutely. I still haven't played Street Fighter 6. I still haven't played Final Fantasy 16, though I'm looking to fix that this month. I have definitely put stuff off.
The funny thing is that it's been long enough that they've announced a sequel already.
That's happened more than once.
Yeah. Time Spinner 2 Unwoven Dream, apparently is the title.
I am looking forward to that already. I haven't even finished the first one yet. I'm according to the menu, I'm 66% of the way through the map, and I've been loving every minute of it. It's been great. It scratches every proper Metroidvania itch in a way that Harmony of Dissonance utterly failed to do. In any event, that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, you can find us in the...
I think you meant to say you can find ways to contact us.
Thank you. As always, you can find how to contact us and the playlist of the songs we talked about today in the description below. We'd love to hear from you. Please send feedback. All right. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next episode.
Goodbye.
See you next time.